Assalamu alaikum. It is I. Oh, look at that. I am excited. Facebook just showed me another feature. How about that? So, we are talking about affirmations today, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about affirmations. I'm actually quite excited. Facebook, I think, just gave me permission to go live on both my page and in my group. So, that's exciting. Today's January 31st, 2020, people. Wow. The whole year has passed, and we've been in the house most of it. Insanity. Oh my gosh. How are you dealing with are you in quarantine? If you're not in the United States, are you quarantining? Are you staying home, staying safe? I love to hear how life is like in other countries, because I'm looking at stuff online and I'm like, I feel like the entire world is normal and having regular lives, and the United States is in shambles. That's how I feel. That's my perception anyway. So maybe that's not what's happening. But Assalamu alaikum, Abdullah and Shazil and Ellie and Nafisa. These are the people that Facebook is showing me. Tell me where you are logging in from. Today is Thursday, December the 31st, 2020. And I'm actually really curious. I'm on my computer because I'm really curious as to if Facebook is constantly changing stuff. Like every time I log, every week, I feel like I discover a new, oh, that's really cool. Facebook actually allows me to immediately share my lives from my page into my group. If you do a Facebook group and page, that may be important to you. If you don't, you may be like, who cares? But that's okay. So today, people, we are talking about affirmations. Good morning, Nicole. Sabah khair. Isha. Assalamu alaikum. Abdullah from Canada. Assalamu alaikum. We're going to give people a few more minutes to log on, see if anybody want to hear about affirmations. So yesterday we talked about goal setting. Today we are going to talk about affirmations. We're going to talk about what they are, whether or not there's any Islamic justification for them. Let me know, do you, or, oh, Ali from London, Assalamu alaikum. Do you do affirmations? Do you know what they are? Have you ever done them? Do you think they work? Like, all of those are interesting questions. And the good news is, you know me and my research. I want to go find out, did people actually test this? Does this really work? Bonjour, Astu. That's like the only French word I know. The only one. Literally? Yeah, like literally. The only one I know. When I was, here's me and my French jealousy. When I was in high school, I wanted to learn French because we had to choose a foreign language. And so this is a completely transparent story. I wanted to learn French because, French just seems so cool. But my mother would not allow me to take French. She made me take Spanish. She made me take Spanish because she said, there is much more Spanish speaking people in the United States than there are people who speak French. So you need to learn Spanish because Spanish is basically America's second language. And so I took like 6 years of Spanish between high school and college, and I could probably say like 3 sentences. Did not retain it. That is one of those kind of like, they make you take a foreign language, and if you're really not interested in learning a language and you don't have anybody to practice with, then how are you going to maintain it? All right. It is 6 p.m. in Cairo, Egypt. Assalamu alaikum. Awesome. I should have said never mind. Why, was you going to say something else in Spanish? I mean in French. So Tamika said, bonjour ma soeur. Did I pronounce that right? I have no idea what that means. I know bonjour is like hello. That's all I know. That's all I know. All right. I don't know. Maybe I'll learn a few French words just to say, like, I know how to say a sentence in French, and I know how to say a sentence in Spanish, and I know how to say a sentence in Arabic. That makes me trilingual. No, it actually doesn't, but that's okay. All right, people. I'm going to stop rambling on, and I'm going to talk about affirmations. Who knows what an affirmation is? An affirmation. We are going to talk about affirmations today. We're going to talk about what they are, if they work, and mistakes people make in thinking about affirmations, and whether or not they are halal to do. If you don't know who I am, my name is Mubaraka Ibrahim, and I am a health and happiness coach, and I appreciate you tuning in. So feel free to tag a friend, share this video. As we talk about affirmations, yesterday we talked about goal setting according to Quran and Sunnah. So if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and scroll down this page. Right now it's on Facebook and it's also on YouTube. So if you have somebody that's not on Facebook, you can actually find it on my YouTube channel. I am on every social media platform, just about, under the username Fit Muslima. So YouTube.com/FitMuslima, Twitter.com/FitMuslima, Instagram.com/FitMuslima, Facebook.com/FitMuslima. So that is the hashtag. And remember, Fit Muslima is spelled with an AH at the end, right? Because my mother always said that the English transliteration of a female word in Arabic is the tabumatain, is what puts the H there. So that is why my name is Mubaraka with an AH. Just a little side note. Affirmations. So what is an affirmation? So an affirmation, if you do not know, it is the repetition of a word or phrase with the intention of creating a subconscious belief, right? Generally about oneself or one's perception of their situation and environment. So Kadra said, I know affirmations are used when you self-positive. So when you self-positive talk. Yep. I'm like saying, I can do it. I'm beautiful. I'm smart. Sometimes work and it doesn't for me. We're going to talk to you about why it may not work for you. So, and you're right, Kadra. It is the repetition of a phrase or word so that it can change your subconscious, but the physiological, because you know I'm always talking about what happens in our body physiologically. The change that we're looking for is change in our brain, right? Neuroplasticity is what we call it. So neuroplasticity is when you change the connection, either change the direction or build new ways in which your brain connects. So think about the way that we think is really how neurons connect in almost like a highway system, right? So have you ever been, you go to work, right? And you're on your way to work, or reverse, on your way home, and you get there and you actually don't even remember the drive, right? You go from work to home or home to work, and you really don't remember the drive. Like you got there safe, you were conscious during the driving there, but you completely zoned out or you were thinking about something else and everything turned to automatic. We can do things automatically like that. Now, so we're talking about beyond breathing and heartbeat and stuff automatic, right? That's like physiology automatic. But when it comes to our brain, we can do things because the network of memory in our brain is connected in a way that allows us basically to zone out, think about something different, and then just get from one place to another because everything just starts working. Like your mind, even when you are talking to your sister on the phone, is saying, okay, you need to take a right here, and then you automatically take a right. Okay, you need to take a left here, and you automatically take a left, right? So neuroplasticity is not that we will we undo those things that are beneficial for us, because obviously we don't want to get lost going from home to work, but you can actually retrain your brain to think in a different manner. This becomes really helpful when we have negative thoughts that we want to change, right? So you ever heard the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? That actually comes from the philosophy that once our brain develops to a certain stage, that we are not able to change it. But science realized in the last decade or so that that's actually not true. You can teach an old dog new tricks. Because we have the ability all the way into our senior years to develop new brain cells or rewire the ones that are there. So that's really important. Now, here is the thing, again, because I always love pointing out the Islamic connection between things that the science has shown us, right? I call this is the science of the Sunnah, right? Sometimes it's the science of the Farah, but science of the Sunnah sounds much more catchy, to be honest. But as Muslims, we use affirmations all the time, right? So if an affirmation is a repetitive word or phrase, what is dhikr? Dhikr is a repetitive word or phrase. Is it not? Right? Something that you say to yourself multiple times a day. What is salah? We say the same thing multiple times a day to constantly remind ourselves, right? To put us in the frame of mind that Allah is Akbar, that Allah is most merciful, that we are His servants, right? Because once that is in your brain, then you will begin to act in that manner. Right? So that is the whole point of affirmation. You want to train your brain in a way that it is going to have you to automatically act in that manner, right? If I am convinced, which I am, that Allah is Akbar, that He is the Lord of the worlds, right? Then I am going to act in a way that is going to be respectful of the fact that Allah created this world for us, then we have to take care of it, right? So this is something that we do as Muslims. Even if we talk about like, okay, we read the Quran once a year, but you read the entire thing, right? That is still repetition. Every year of your life, if you're reading everything that Allah has told you, it is repetition. So just about everything in Islam is a confirmation of that affirmations are real. It is actually one of the ways in which Muslims increase their iman. I bet a lot of people haven't really thought about it in that manner. Affirmations is actually a way that what we use as dhikr, right? So how can we use it? So first answer, is it halal? Absolutely. We use it all the time as Muslims. Whether you believe in it or don't believe in it, if you dhikr, if you make salah, then you use affirmations. Okay? Does it work? Absolutely. But there are some ways in which it can be difficult for it to work for certain people, and we're going to talk about that. So another way in which affirmations are used, right? They're used to emphasize something, right? If you want more courage, if you want more confidence, like where have we seen this before? If we want to emphasize a point, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he would say something multiple times, then that means he wanted to emphasize it. When Allah wants to emphasize something in the Quran, he says it over and over again, right? Ar-Rahman. In Ar-Rahman, every other ayah is a repetition, right? So even Allah uses it in the Quran. So affirmations as a repetition of a word or phrase so that it can rewire your brain in order for you to change the way you think about yourself or your environment or situation. That is what an affirmation is. Not something crazy or woo-woo. It's really quite simple. Now, for some people, affirmations do not work. I'll be honest. But here's the interesting thing. They've actually done some research around what makes an affirmation work and what makes an affirmation not work. So what they found is that when you have low confidence, and you say to yourself, I'm lovable, I'm beautiful, I'm lovable, I'm beautiful, I'm lovable, I'm beautiful, right? One research study showed that it actually made people think worse of themselves because they actually did not believe it. So that's a really interesting finding, because when you say something and there's no sincerity inside of that saying, then you're just simply repeating a word that you're actually not believing. So it doesn't work that way, right? I can't in my head say like, my eyes are green, my eyes are green, my eyes are green, my eyes are green, and all of a sudden have green eyes, right? I would have to use an app for that. Affirmations alone are not going to get it. So that's kind of like what it is when you truly do not believe that you are loved, you're capable of being loved, or that you're beautiful, right? So you're saying this thing that you're not believing. There's a couple of things that I want to say about affirmations in general, and this is kind of like a warning thing, right? Affirmations are not a substitution for therapy, right? If you need a therapist, please go see a therapist. It is not a substitution for therapy. If you've had trauma in your life, if you're having an extremely difficult time dealing with the trauma in your life, please see a therapist. It is not a substitution for therapy. And it is not a magic pill, right? So it's not going to just all of a sudden make everything all better because you decided to tell yourself, I'm confident and I'm beautiful. Affirmation actually works better initially, like just saying something, for people who already have a feeling, right? People that have confidence and then they want to add to that confidence. But there is a way to help it work for you. If you're one of those people that like commented earlier, the affirmation doesn't work for me, I'm going to give you a couple of tips to help affirmations work for you, because we can rewire our brain. So, ready for your tips? Make sure you got pen and paper. Feel free to share this video on your page so that you can find it later. You can save it. There's a little save button for videos. I think it's where the 3 dots are on top of the video. So after we log off, you can go save it. You can send it to a friend, and that way you'll have it inside your inbox. So feel free to do any of those things if you don't have a pen in front of you right now. So first thing, when you want to achieve something or achieve the way, or I should say retrain your brain, right? When you want to retrain your brain, the first thing that you should recognize is that our brain likes consistency, right? Which means when your brain thinks negatively about one thing, it is going to take that negativity and it's going to apply to many things across your day, across your life, right? You ever start the day off like I spilled my coffee, I woke up late, and then everything, right? Everything starts going bad after that. Because in your mind, like, oh my God, this day is going to be horrible. And so it continues to be horrible. Because now your brain is like communicating that to everything else that you're getting ready to do. But here's the thing. You can actually train your brain in the opposite way by thinking of something very positive. So when I say your brain needs consistency, it doesn't even have to be in relation to what you're doing right now. So if you remember something that you've done successfully, you're more likely to do the next thing successfully, even if it is unrelated, right? Because it gives you more confidence towards self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is your belief that you can accomplish something. Like, I know that I don't know how to do a lot of things, but I know that I can learn to do a lot of things, right? That's called self-efficacy, that I feel confident that I can figure it out or I can be taught it, right? So in order for you to do that, you need to think of something that you've done successfully. Meaning, don't just pick up affirmations from a meme that you saw. Okay, so this is a part 2. Don't just pick up affirmations from anywhere, right? You need to do something that is personal to you. And you start off, I'll give you an example. If you know, today is, I'll talk to the weightlifters first, right? Today is the day that you want to see what your PR and you're going to try to squat 200 pounds, right? In your mind, if you tell yourself, I'm a mom, I have literally pushed out a baby. That is how strong I am. If I can push out a baby, I can squat 200 pounds. Now, not randomly, don't just walk in the gym and try to pick up 200 pounds. Remember, this is just an example. By me telling myself and remembering the strength that I had in childbirth, I now have self-efficacy where I have confidence in myself. And even though my PR before was 190, I will be more likely to be able to push myself to do the 200. Right? Because of that self-efficacy. When it comes to your ability of doing something, even for example, you say, I need to complete this project at work, whatever that may be, right? You don't have a lot of confidence, like I'm not sure if I can do this. Even if you think of something like, hey, when I was in school, I remember that really hard test I had to study for, and I got a 97. Like, I'm pretty smart, right? You can tell yourself that. And even though a spelling test has nothing to do with the project that you're trying to do, your mind loves consistency. So it is going to transfer that feeling of success into what you're doing. Right? So they did one research project, and this even works if all you need is confidence, right? You don't need to physically do something. You just need to exude confidence. There was a research study, and what they did was they had participants to write down something that they did successfully, right? And then they had the other participants to write down just anything that they wanted, right? Then they had each of the participants to go into a mock interview with mock interviewers. Afterwards, when they surveyed the interviewers and they asked them which participants seemed more confident, and of course they did their analysis, like they all had about the same amount of confidence before they did their writing kind of thing. The participants who wrote about something that was successful was much more confident going into their interview and exuded more confidence in the interview than the participants who did not write about something that they had success in. And it didn't matter what that successful thing was, whether it was a spelling test at school or jumping out of an airplane, it actually did not matter. that thing, no matter what it was, gave them the confidence that they needed in order for them to show confidence and, remember, self-efficacy. That's a nice word. Make you sound smart. So learn it. Okay. It gave them that confidence inside of the interview. So first thing that you need to do is you need to find something that you're proud of in your life. I don't care if it was something that you did when you made a huge Lego man when you was 10. Find something that you're proud of that you can reflect on, right? And when you're in a situation where you need to exude confidence, where you need to have an extra motivation towards what you're doing, think about that thing. So that's number one that has been shown to be effective in increasing confidence. So when it comes to affirmations, the second thing that is important is number two, it needs to be personal, right? It needs to be something that you know that you need to improve in your life or in your thinking. So make it personal. Maybe it is a meme that you saw on Facebook, but don't be shy to literally write your own. Maybe it's a hadith. Maybe it's something that you've taken from a hadith. Whatever it is, think about how you would like to rethink, right? Because it's all about the way that you're thinking about something, and make it personal to your own goal. The third part of this is your affirmation shouldn't just be about the goal. So we're not talking about goal setting. We're talking about affirmations. And what is the difference? So another research study showed that people who did visualization around their goal and then had to do the work was actually less successful in achieving it, and they were lazier in their efforts. Because the mind, visualization is a very powerful thing. Your mind actually makes you feel like you've already accomplished it. And they found that those people actually put in less effort, as opposed to people who thought about the process. How do we use this, right? So that's the research. How do we use this? This is how we use it. If you're trying to use visualization, let's talk about weight loss, right? And you say, I have this dress and it's a size, I don't know, 4 or 6 or whatever, 10, whatever your dream size, body size is, right? Don't visualize yourself in the dress, right? Some people will tell you, visualize yourself wearing the dress, what you're going to feel like, what you're going to look like. No, not for affirmations. That may help when you're actually writing your goals down and setting SMART goals. But for affirmations and visualization as a part of those affirmations, you want to visualize the process that you have to go through. Meaning, you know, in order to get in that dress, you're going to have to work out 5 days a week. So you need to visualize yourself working out and loving that workout, right? So instead of saying, I have a healthy and beautiful body, I have a healthy and beautiful body, you may want to change that to, I love working out and I work out consistently. I love working out and I work out consistency. Literally telling yourself that, because it's the workouts that's going to get you to the goal. Makes sense, don't it? I know it does. It was making so much sense when I was researching it. Okay. All right. So visualizing the process. The other part. All right. I have some notes. Hold on. I'm making sure I'm going to hit all my points, right? So the other part of creating these affirmations and the visualization around the affirmation is you want to also visualize yourself overcoming obstacles, right? one of the things that people say to me so often is, how do I say no to my friends that are always offering me these foods I'm not supposed to be eating? How do I say no when I feel the pressure from my mother-in-law, right? You need to anticipate. You know what the obstacles are. You know the things that's getting you off track. Anticipate what the obstacles are and how you're going to respond to those obstacles, right? And that is what you visualize. That is what you think about as far as, how am I going to problem solve? Self-sabotage, very common word. I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm always sabotaging myself. You avoid self-sabotage when you already have a plan, and the affirmation and visualization is going to help that response to those situations to become automatic, right? It's okay, like, I'm okay, like, it's okay for me to say no so that I can be committed to my goal. It's okay for me to say no so that I can be committed to my goal. It is okay for me to say no so I can be committed to my goal, right? You can actually tell yourself that so that you don't feel guilty and bad when you have to say no when somebody offers you something, right? So that's the other thing. So now that we know kind of like how to make affirmations work for us, what is it that you should be doing in terms of your affirmations? So we talked about making them personal, right? So I'll give you an example. And again, this is a personal story. I mean, if I'm going to come up here and talk to you guys, y'all going to learn a lot about me, a lot about my personal past and issues, right? So if you've been following me, you know that I am the mom of 4 children. And all of my kids are 2 years apart. They're all grown now. They're 20, 22, 24, 26. Yes, 24 and 26. When I was pregnant with my youngest son, right, I got really depressed during my pregnancy, like depressed to the point where my doctor wanted to put me on depression medication. And I was like, no, I really don't want to be on depression medication, while I was pregnant. And so, I'm going to preface this by saying this is just my own personal situation and the way that I deal with it. If you have a problem with depression, please see a therapist. Please talk to your doctor about whether or not medication is appropriate for you. That is my disclaimer. However, after saying that, when I had this problem, I didn't feel like my depression was so severe that I needed medication. My doctor was like, she wasn't pushing it. She was just like, it would be helpful because this is not good for the baby that you're always feeling this way. And I had a lot of things going on. My kids were literally 2, 4, and 6. My husband worked like 60 hours a week. My family lived in an hour away. I didn't have a lot of help and support, and it was a lot of stress. It was an unplanned pregnancy. Like, all of those things contributed to the fact that I had a huge issue. I started having anxiety attacks. Like, at the time I was wearing niqab, and so I actually had to take my niqab off. That was one of the reasons why I took it off, is because I would literally have panic attacks in the store, and I would have to just be like pulling stuff off because I couldn't breathe. And so I was like, you know what? This is not working, because when I'm out in public, I have to take it off. So I actually stopped wearing a niqab because of that. And so it was a huge issue. Well, one of the things that I did several things in my life to change some of the stress that I was going through. Stress is a huge, huge problem in terms of your health. And one of those things was I started to move more, right? Being physically active. And I started to use affirmations. So this is the first time I started to use affirmations. One of the ways in which affirmations can work for you, or that it will be quite effective, is that when you're trying to regain something that you've lost, right? I used to think I was beautiful, but Now my self-esteem is kind of low. I used to think I was courageous, but now, I feel like I'm too cautious around things. When you can retrain and reconnect those neurons. And so I began to walk every morning. I would go to the beach and I would walk and I would repeat to myself, I am strong, I am beautiful, I am smart, right? Those were my affirmations because I recognized that some of the issues that I was dealing with was the fact that I had to I kept quitting school, right? I was trying to get a degree, but I would keep getting pregnant. And so I had to keep quitting. So I had to go to school for a year and then I would be pregnant and I would stop and then I would go to school and I would stop, right? And so I started feeling like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be too dumb to get an education to get my degree by the time I'm done with all of these kids, right? I'm being transparent. And so being smart was something that I've always prided myself on. I was great at school. I always made the honor roll. I always did really good academically. And so it's something to this day, I just enjoy learning, right? I wasn't one of those kids that you had to make me go do my homework. I was one of those kids where my mom asked, like, is your homework done? Oh, yep, I did it already. I did it during lunch in school, or I did it as soon as I came home, right? Because I actually enjoy learning. That's part of the reason why I actually like talking to people as well, because I enjoy learning about people as well. It's just a part of that process. And so me reminding myself that I am smart was an important part of that process. So again, what your affirmations are, it needs to be personal to you, right? I was on my 4th baby, all right? Now, if you have more than one child, and especially if you have them close together, you know that you get to a point where you're like, whose body is this? Like, I don't even know whose body this is. Like, you look at your body and you're like, what in the world is going on? And you have to learn to appreciate the great barakah and, quite frankly, miracle that Allah has given women to carry life inside of their womb. And that in itself is a whole different thing. It's absolutely amazing. Even now when I see pregnant women or I see births, I'm like, wow, I did that 4 times. It's amazing. So I actually had to remind myself that I was beautiful, even as I'm wobbling down the beach 8 months pregnant, right? I'm still beautiful. And I had to remind myself that I was strong, that whatever I was going through, that it too shall pass. And I was strong enough to get through it. I was strong enough to handle these 4 children and to raise them and to not kill them or myself. I was strong enough for all of that. Like, come on, let's be honest. Sometimes you just want to choke one of them, but you got strength. You can hold on. I'm just saying. Right? So those were the things that I thought about that I needed. And it helped me tremendously. Right? So 1, just getting up and being physically active. We know that in terms of depression itself, we know that moderate to intense physical activity can be just as effective as Prozac. This is actual research, right? So in terms of your mental health. So that was really important. So that was a long story to get to the point of your affirmations need to be personal. The second part is they need to be repeated, right? So you're talking about repetition. And the interesting thing, the science of the sunnah, remember we talked about that at the beginning, is research shows that you need to repeat them for 3 to 5 minutes. How long is salah? Right? Average person. I mean, except for the times when you're feeling really holy. 3 to 5 minutes. Science of the sunnah. So you actually need to repeat these to yourself. The 4th thing, I think we're on 4. We might be on 3. It doesn't matter. Next tip. Next tip. You need to say it on a daily basis, multiple times a day. Right? Multiple times a day. Twice a day, take 3 to 5 minutes to repeat your affirmation to yourself in every way, right? So we can learn in 3 different ways. We can be visual. We can be an audible learner, right? Those are 2 ways in which you can learn. And then some people learn better being very tactile about it, meaning you need to write it out, right? So a written learner, use all 3. Whatever your affirmation is, say it and say it out loud, right? Don't just say it in your head. Words matter. When you speak, it affects you 3 ways. Number 1, you had to think it. Even if it was a split second, you thought it before you said it. Words are physical things. They are physical sound waves that are coming across your tonsils, your throat, your tongue, your lips. So you are touching every word that you say. And your ears are the closest thing to your own mouth, so you hear it first before anyone else hears it. So this is why it is so important for you to watch what you say. But it's also why it's so effective when you say things out loud to yourself. So say it out loud. Thirdly, write it down, not on the computer. Physically write it down. You should have a journal. If you don't, pick up a notebook, pick up whatever. I don't care. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just needs to be a piece of paper and a pen, and you need to write it down. Because when you write things down, you retain it better. Right? They've actually done research to have people to type something on a computer and another group physically write it down. And the group who physically wrote it down on a piece of paper retained it better than people who typed on the computer. Right? Researchers believe that that's because when you write something down, you're actually using most of your senses, right? So if you're writing something in your head, you're saying that thing, you're spelling it out, you're physically holding the pencil, you're writing it out into words on a paper, and you're probably reading what you wrote, right? Writing actually uses every sense except for the audible sense. Writing it down, super important. But make sure that you say it out loud. Make sure that you say it out loud, right? This is something that, like, even in Islam, if we think of salah as being a form of affirmation, what do we have in terms of making salah? We have some salahs that we say out loud. That's not just random. Allah does everything for a reason. Right? Some rahas you have to say out loud. Even if you are praying by yourself, you say it out loud. So if you think of salah as an affirmation, let's take the example in which Allah gave us and apply it to every aspect of our life. So now you have something to start your new year off in a more positive way. Right? I'm sure you have lots of plans, but this is going to add to it. It's going to make you be more intentional, right? Be much more intentional about what you're doing. Be much more intentional about what you're saying. Be much more intentional about setting your goals, whether those goals are weight loss or making more money in your business or becoming more confident. No matter what they are, this can apply to all of them. All right? So I hope this was helpful. Let me know if it was helpful for you. And what are some of the other things that you want us to chat about over the next year. So technically today's Thursday and I'm going to see you next year because I'll see you tomorrow. Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. That is my intentions, to be here with you to talk about ways to help us both, because when I say these things, I am talking to myself first, right? I never want to be one of the people that say something to somebody else and tell them it's so beneficial and then I'm not practicing it myself. So until next year, right? Make dua for me. I will make dua for you. It's raining here today, so we're going to get a little extra blessings in, a little extra ear to the ground, making some extra dua. And I will see you next year, inshallah. All right? Assalamu alaikum.